Hello, Sydney. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. What brings you here today, Sydney?
Um, I've been having some issues with my sister and I. Um, we've been just getting into more um fights recently, and I feel like my parents aren't necessarily being very supportive or helpful in the situation.
It looks like you are having a hard time in the family.
Yes, yeah. Her and I are usually on the same page and really close. But she recently got engaged, which is supposed to be a happy, exciting time. But I feel like recently it's just been getting a little more stressful than it should be.
I can see when you were talking about engagement, even though you mentioned that it's a happy time, it looks like your face is very sad when you are conveying that. Tell me more about how does it feel for you when you are supposed to be happy, and on the other hand, it seems like you are not ready to enter that state?
Yeah, I would say that it's, I think from a sister perspective, like I obviously want her to marry like the very best person that she deserves and deserves her. But she'll call me like crying and frustrated about things that he has said or lack of things that he's done for her. Um, and I try to be someone who just like listens and like tries to understand, where she's coming from. But at the same time, like she's not really calling off the wedding. Like she's just kind of like she's just gonna go through with it. And so internally for me, that's frustrating. Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, well then just don't go through with it. But my parents have a history of enabling her and not being very confrontational with her. And so I'm really the only one that's kind of speaking up about how problematic the situation is, which is hard.
Mm. I'm hearing you feel puzzled because of the way it seems to unfold, the way your sister communicates to you and what the reality is. And it is even, it seems like it's even irritating for you that even though you hear she feels quite disturbed with how things go, on the other hand, she doesn't feel like calling off the wedding, and that seems to irritate you. I mean, am I getting it right?
Yes, I would say it does, yeah, irritate me quite often. I think that, she calls me quite frequently to complain about things that are going on. Um, and I try to communicate this to my parents, like, I don't think this is a good idea. Like, these are the things that she's telling me. And I feel like they've always had a pattern with her of like just letting her do whatever, and they'll basically solve all of her problems, at the end of the day. Um, which I think is just, yeah, enabling her to just continue to make bad decisions. Um, and so, yeah, I just get a little irritable and annoyed, because I'm trying to like be there for her. But at the same time, like I'm the only one being confrontational and saying like, I don't think this is a good idea, and like, let's take more time. And um, my parents are just like, just want her to go through with it. And
You feel like you are an odd one out.
yes, yes. Um, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't always feel the most supported by my parents. Um, Even though she's my older sister, I feel like a lot of times I'm the oldest, um, because of how different we are and the decisions we make are very different. Um, but yeah, I do feel like I'm kind of the only one saying something and trying to find conclusions to the issues. My parents are just more like they hear what I'm saying, but they just want their daughter to get married. So that's kind of the only priority that they have right now.
It looks like there are some uh, experiences of dissatisfaction in both directions. On one hand, in a relationship with your sister, and on the other hand, you also do not feel satisfied and being heard and supported by parents.
Mhm. Yeah, I would definitely feel like um, yeah, they really haven't. They're very supportive with my sister and like everything that she does. With me not so much being supportive, even though I'm the quote unquote like easy kid. They're definitely a lot harder on me than they are with her, which I think also plays a role in all of this too. Like they don't want to push her too hard or um push her away, but I don't see confrontation as pushing someone away. I just feel like it's sometimes necessary, especially when she's making a very big decision such as marriage. Um, Morally, I just don't see that it's right to be supporting someone in a marriage that you know isn't going to be successful. Um,
It sounds quite unfair when you say that parents are treating your sister in a more, indulging way, and you do not receive similar treatment from their side.
yeah, I definitely have felt that for a long time, ever since I was a little kid. Um, they were very supportive in her hobbies and her interests. And they had, I loved doing gymnastics, and they ended up stopping me from pursuing that so that she could pursue her hobbies in theater. Um, and I've brought it up in the past about just how unfair that was. Um, and my parents are trying to convince me, like, no, like you wanted that, that was your choice. And it was like, no, that never was my choice. So we have very different perspectives on my childhood. Um, but I do feel like if I was in the same shoes where I was about to marry someone who wasn't for me, they would definitely vocalize that. But with my sister, like they just won't say anything.
I can also hear like um, the way according to the expression on your face, like I can see that there is a deep feeling of, even being hurt and even being, in a way, uh, sacrificed for no reason, for no obvious reason, because it seems like, and I'm hearing like you have been even sacrificing what you felt that you wish to devote yourself towards to. And
Mhm.
that kind of feeling of hurt and pain is something that I can read according to the expression of your on your face when you talk about how the parents are treating you. Tell me more about how it feels for you.
Yeah, I would say I do sometimes have they have feelings of like anger towards them at times, just kind of looking back on everything. 'Cause I feel as a kid, like it feels unfair, but then like as you get older, you're kind of like, yeah, like that really wasn't like okay for that to happen. Um, and maybe just sadness because I feel like, I could have had a lot of potential as a kid being in sports, but at this point, like I'll never know because it never happened. Um, and yeah, I think it does just make me feel sad. And my parents like never acknowledge it either. Like they try to just change my mind or change, what happened, and that can feel invalidating that um they don't believe um, what I'm saying. Um, and so it did help, when I moved out and now I can make my own decisions and do what I want. So I think that really helped me as a person, just kind of have my own space away from them. Um, but I still obviously they're my family, so I still love them as well through it all. But um, yeah, I do get sad thinking about it. I'm
Yeah, it looks like it's disappointing and sad for you when you reflect back and you come to the conclusion that that was the pattern of treatment throughout the dynamics of the relationship with your parents since your early childhood. And on the other hand, I'm hearing you have, in a way, enabled yourself to kind of compensate for the lost opportunity when you were dissuaded to pursue gymnastics. Now it looks like you are trying to compensate and make your own decisions and um, try to find your way on your own, which is an incredibly powerful and strong decision to make.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely wasn't. I definitely did get pushback from that, from my parents just moving out. Um, but I'm really glad that I did. Because yeah, it really did empower me to make my own decisions and to be confident. Because I think, yeah, as a kid, like everything was just surrounded around my sister. So to kind of separate even from her and from my parents and just be my own person, not someone that's like attached to my family, was really helpful. To figure out what I like and what are my hobbies and interests was really crucial for me.
Certainly is very important for you, as I hear from you. I'm wondering what's your birth order in the family? Uh, what's your birth order with your sister when you reflect?
Yeah, so she's my older sister. So she's 2 years older than me. So she's 27 and I'm 25. Um, yeah.
Please go on.
Um, I think that yeah, also just plays a role with her being the oldest, as well. I think that um, just my sister and I are both adopted, so our parents adopted us. Um, and I think that that also plays a role too, because um, her and I have very we have very different personalities. But then also biologically, she has mental health um, challenges within her own biological family as well. So she struggled with that growing up with her. So I think my parents also prioritized her a lot just because she was going through depression and just other disorders as well. And so I think she really pulled their attention away from me growing up. And so I think I always kind of lived in her shadow for a very long time up until she went to college. Then I finally had like the house and my parents to myself for 2 years. Um, so I think that was really crucial, just kind of learning who my parents are without the my sister present was really important for me to kind of build that relationship with them. Um, but even now, like I don't live with them, and I still feel like they're very involved in her life and the wedding and like all of this. But they're still like they don't ask me about what I'm up to, what I'm doing. I'm in school, so they don't ask me about school. So it can feel very like isolating, just not having the same type of interest for me that they do for my sister.
Lived in a shadow, that's a very strong statement. It somehow really resonated with me when you mentioned that. And I'm also wondering, Sydney, um, we both come from different cultural backgrounds. I'm Caucasian, you're African American. I'm wondering, what does it mean in your culture, and especially what does it mean to you? Because even if you are in the culture, to you, the experience of this culture is completely unique. So I'm wondering, what does it mean to you that you have all that awareness and knowledge of, first of all, being both of you being adopted, secondly, your sister having that, I would say, vulnerability on the basis of which she kind of pulled away their attention, as you have mentioned, wording word. I'm wondering if you could expand more and unpack more on that to me. How does it how does it interpret? How can it be interpreted in your culture? What does it mean to you individually within the context of your culture to be in a shadow, as you have mentioned?
Yeah, I would say that I would say for my culture, both my parents are also African American. And I feel like, especially within like our community, being very like outspoken and independent and um, just having a really like good work ethic, like all these things are really crucial elements. And I was like the complete opposite of that. Like even our extended family, all of the women are very loud, um, very independent. They know what they want. And, I didn't really have that same experience growing up. Like I'm very quiet, I'm not outspoken. Um, and I think a lot of that had to do with my family environment, was just, it just didn't curate that for me. And that's just not how I am as a person. Um, so I think that I've been able to come to a place of being okay with who I am and my identity. Um, I can still be within my culture, and I have a good work ethic, but I'm not very outspoken and loud. Um, so I think just kind of um yeah, just being myself and acknowledging that is important. Um, and I think religion also plays an aspect as well, just growing up in a religious household. Um, my parents didn't really, I think that's kind of contributes to conflict. Like it was kind of like, oh, just pray about it, pray about it. And it was never go to the person and have a conversation. It was just, oh, pray about it. Um, and I think that while religion can be great, and I'm grateful that I was raised religious, um, I also don't see conflict and confrontation as being a bad thing. And I think there was definitely fear involved with that of not knowing how the person's going to react. So therefore, I just won't say anything kind of thing. Um, So yeah, I think the religious aspect, but also just yeah, being African American and there's certain characteristics that you see often. I didn't necessarily have those played a role in it.
For sure.
Mm.
And I have to really admire and acknowledge the way you stand up and the way you courageously defend who you are, regardless of what is an acceptable norm, as you have mentioned, to be outspoken and loud and most likely, I would say visible because you've mentioned previously. I feel like I'm living in the shadow. And then on the other hand, I hear you are now comfortable with that shadow because that kind of state of say of having that serenity and being okay with not being outspoken necessarily, but having that, uh, sense of belonging and sense of uh, being true to yourself is something that is a very courageous, I would say, standpoint to defend against the background of overly dominating culture of being outspoken and outgoing and in a certain way also to be considered a favorite in the family. And on the other hand, I also have to acknowledge how admirable it is to hear that while you are appreciating spirituality and religion, you are not willing to treat it as a remedy for everything and solution to all. However, it is something that really uh, somehow strengthens your spirit, your soul, and your ability to cope with feelings. Because I've also noted you mentioned you are grateful you were raised in a religious family. I'm grateful for unveiling that part of culture and more deeply what that culture means to you, in particular, Sydney. I'm wondering, how do you wish to move forward with that issue that you came with and approached me with today? You've mentioned about that feeling of being disturbed, and on the other hand, not being able to make sense out of the communication, because on one hand, you are trying to be helpful, and on the other hand, your I would say support or suggestions are not so much utilized, and you feel kind of frustrated because of that. And on the other hand, there is a layer of parental relationship patterns that you are kind of a bit um, unhappy and um, disappointed with. Um, I'm wondering how would you like to move forward with these particular two issues that you felt that you are disturbed with and you wish to resolve in a way.
No, that's a really good way of yeah, tying everything together. I would say that I would like to have more help on how to navigate conversations with my parents, um, involving my sister. Maybe just reframing things so that it's not like I'm attacking my sister, but more so um, it's a more productive conversation on, how can we kind of navigate this whole wedding situation. So I think they think I'm attacking her and being negative, and that's not that's not my intention. It's more so for a constructive conversation on how we can navigate everything. Yeah. Well,
And that is a wonderful goal to have, to be able to figure out and find the ways how to communicate more efficiently, maybe assertively, maybe from a viewpoint of an open opportunity, like you've mentioned, this very um, important word, reframing, like how to reframe and how to refresh and maybe reload relationships through different techniques that you may try to apply in daily communication so that your intent is interpreted appropriately and aligned with what your true intentions are.
Yes, yeah, that would be very helpful. Get some guidance on that.
We can certainly work on that. I'm very grateful for your honesty, for your disclosures, wonderful disclosures that show up your, in a way, at one hand, a very serene and very balanced nature, and on the other hand, a nature of a warrior because you were able to stand up for yourself and who you are truly. And that is something that many of us are struggling through their lives to attain, and that is already a great achievement that you have. We have discussed the different, layers of relationship dynamic patterns that make you feel uncomfortable, both with your sister and when with your parents. And also we have tapped in a bit, how does that make you feel as a person? And on the other hand, it revealed certain, past childhood experiences of how that, intensified care due to certain vulnerabilities have put you in a shadow and in a way determined the favorable treatment towards your sister, which is indeed unfair and must be a very disappointing experience to have in a childhood. And also, you have very uh, successfully explored also what does it mean to you in your particular culture and to you individually to be who you are and to have all these experiences, and how are you in a way interpreting it um, in your identity, and how your identity is on the other hand shaped with these experiences. And that also led us to some potential outline of our future goals, um, that, as you have mentioned, could be possible ways of changing communication patterns, also perspectives, and try to apply some techniques such as reframing to make you make you be understood by your family with your true intent and desire to be helpful in a situation that relates to a very important and life-changing decision such as marriage in your sister's life.
That's a great way of summarizing, um, what's going on, but also how I'm feeling, through the, um, yeah, family dynamics that I have. So thank you so much for taking the time.
I reciprocate, and I also thank you for your honesty, Sydney. And we shall meet in our future session. We can meet next week if that is comfortable for you, and start working towards the goals that we have set during our today's session.
That sounds good. Good.
Wonderful. Have a good day. See you soon then.
You too.